Zdaj pa še k zadnjemu predavanju sklopa, recimo nas bo nagovorila doktorica Varga, zaposlena na Centru za ekološko raziskavo v Budimpešti. Ukvarja se z vprašanji etnobiologije, se pravi zvezami med človekom, drugimi živimi bitji in okoljem. Skratka, glede referat bo potekal v angleščini, pa tudi če bo potem kakšna vprašanja, se zastavljajo v angleščini, pa tudi odgovarjala v istem jeziku. Dr. Varga, can you hear us?
Could you see my presentation now?
Now it's
Yes.
Okay, so I'm an ethnobiologist and environmental historian researcher, and working now at the Environmental Humanities Research Group at the Department of European Ethnology and Cultural Anthropology at the University of Pécs. And my ongoing project is focusing on the environment and society transformation of common forest and pasture use in the 18th and 19th centuries and its contemporary effects in especially in South Transdanubia. In my PhD, I was focusing on mainly on the current management of the silvopastoral system and wood pastures in Hungary and in Transylvania in Romania. And as probably you know that wood pastures and silvopastoral systems are recognized as a high natural and cultural value agroforestry type, as a habitat as well, and also a management. And in Europe, as many of you know, that the wood pastures and the silvopastoral systems are really part of the European biocultural diversity heritage, the landscape heritage, and also the forest history generally, but and also the current European agricultural policy too. The silvopastoral system, that it is a well-known forest use or agriculture practices, we didn't know much about it in details. And in my PhD research, I was interested in it. How is it happening nowadays, and how the farmers and the foresters or the rangers think about it, and what their perceptions and traditional knowledges. And during my research, I realized, I just go back to this slide, that the recent management, what we can see on the landscape, that the wood pastures are, it's true that they are very ancient and kind of the heritage of the 1,000 years old landscape and management and forest uses, but somehow their history is rooted in the 19th, mainly in the enclosure movements, which happens mainly during the 19th century. So in my research, I still use similar methods, but emphasizing different questions. So my research based on the archive works, and also doing field visits, and also working with the herders and farmers, do interviews, and also do participant observation. Even to understand the 19th century, I ask about the oral memories, or what were their opinions about. But it's what we know now, that as I mentioned it, that what we can see, that these old wood pastures and silvopastoral managements are really our heritage. But if we see back to the history, this is the kind of timeline of the last 200 years of the history. And in the middle of the 19th century, the Forest and the Pasture Separation Act which was introduced during the first half of the 19th century in Hungary, first in 1836, which was a kind of possibility for the local communities and for the landlords. But in 1853, the act was introducing in all areas in Hungary, and why it is important that actually it's really rooted to the questions that when we think about that, what does it mean forest and pasture. Sorry, I just realized that I haven't put on the what does it mean forest and pasture, and we think back about the ethnography data, and also when I was speaking with the current herders, their opinion was very similar, that actually the grazing land is not just about the open green grasslands, that the grazing land, it could be also the forest. And during the 19th century, if we look the meaning and the definition of forest, it usually doesn't strict only just the area which was managed by the forestry. The forest could be also a grazeland. So this quotation is from the ethnographer Bertan Andrásfalvi, but it's really shows that or highlight these definitions. And the reason why I think it's important when we think about or we look back the archive data, that we should be aware of this, that the forest could be a totally grazeland, and in the other way round as well. But after this separation act, the meaning of the forest and also the pasture land changed, because this was one of the main approach of this act, to separate these two management and type as well. So this is and what was the influence that actually that the one of the main impact of this separation act word, that it was very different from nearly each villages how this separation happened, but the main results were mainly that the villages lost their pasture land, and there is just mostly around 60% of the former pasture land lost, which were actually some places was totally forest, but it's more about the activities. So my case studies is from the Veszprém County from the Bakony Hills, which is northern from the Lake Balaton. So somewhere here is the Lake Balaton, and in this village there is two wood pasture. One is this here, what you can see now, that it's a totally closed forest. I will speak about it. And this is another pasture land which was just restored in the last couple of years. So this is the map. This is the village Olaszfalu, and here is the pasture land where I was talking that it was restored. This is located somewhere here, and the area what I showed that it is a closed forest I show here. And this map is from the end of the 18th century, and showed that the map shows that it is a kind of closed forest areas from the south from the village. And this is the map. I will show it in a bit bigger, but it shows that this is the Separation Act, which was created in 1862, and this area, which was in the last map, you could see that it was a closed areas, closed forest areas, and it was possible to graze for the local people before the Separation Act. The result of the separation created this pasture land, which is this light green, and the other pasture land, which is here. And this also shows that kind of the area that the pasture land was really cut down, and this area is very stony, and it was already some part of them open, I mean more shrubby areas, because the soil is very weak. And the interesting facts about just about these maps, that it was created in each separation process. So actually in each village has this forest and pasture separation act. Of course, it really depends where you can find these maps and or not. But this work was a very huge kind of project for the survivors as well, and also because this usually it was the separation process was filled with many conflicts. So also the village were and also the landlords, they went to the court, and they were many lawyers were working on these issues. And usually this separation happened for 10-20 years because the conflicts. So how's it happened? In this map, well, this figure shows the vegetation change on this area. That we have a map which shows that. Or a map, and also forestry data about this area, that shows that in the beginning of the 19th century, the area was mainly closed forest, and only just around the 30%, which was more a parkland landscape because the soil. And after the Separation Act, the area was started intensively used as a pasture land, because the local people has no other possibility to keep their livestock outside, which means that the area was probably overused, and also the trees were cut out, and because their aim was to improve the grasslands and the pasture activities. So it means that they created a very open parkland landscape. And this is a kind of questions that when we are thinking about the ancient wood pastures, that how they were created or when they developed. So probably many ancient wood pastures were created at this time, or it was a result of these separations. And of course, it's the other part of the history now, that during the 20th century or end of the 20th century, the area was abandoned and after became again a closed forest areas. So this is just the other figure to represent these changes in the vegetations, that actually that we became again is it a kind of the pre-enclosed landscape that we can find now, a closed forest in the areas, but of course it's now not grazed, and it's managed in different types. This is the picture of the area from the middle of the 20th century, and this was the open parkland landscape which was created after the Separation Act. And also we measured the tree rings of the trees, and actually that even they were very large and they looked very ancient trees, the tree rings result shows that they are just around 140 years old trees mainly. just they had the possibility to grow larger in in an open space. So if we look more details about that of this, especially this place, that what was the kind of global forces or going more locally, in the national, regional, local forces, that the result of the enclosures, there are many different data and opinion about, and what were the main result of why the enclosure happened in Central and Eastern Europe, in Hungary. One of the results could be the needs of the timber, but also the needs for the pasture land as well, but in a different ownership structure. And of course, there are many data about that, the giving the rights or the ownership for the people, and as it happened in England or in any other part of Europe. The interesting things, actually, I think what I would like to emphasize here, that about the herder communities, that as we see that the Separation Act forced to apply more people to as a professional herders, because before that the herding management was based more on the family level and more the community level, and they after the separation they started to pay for the herders, and it became more a professional works, which was also influenced later the landscape or the oil management. So just summarize in a short, impacts could be that in the pasture lands were overgrazed in many places, and also it was a problem because in the middle of a shortage of the fodder, and they didn't have the area was much smaller, and also the people had other possibility and rights for the whole landscape. And also, which is a kind of short impact, that many scientific studies started to questioning that the enclosure and also the impacts of it in the 19th century and even in the beginning of the 20th century. But after, in these questions was not really emphasized until now. And this enclosure, which started in the 19th century, resulted nowadays that there is no community managed areas, and most area became a private lands and fenced area. And also in a longer period, what we can see that the local people lost the connection to the land, which result also that they are losing the traditional ecological knowledge, and also the whole forestry management has changed. And just for a couple of examples, what I was mentioning about that the scientific papers was at this time was already emphasizing this overgrazing and the impacts of the enclosure, and also, yeah, this is a picture of the overgrazing problems. And this is there was 2 books which was published in the end of the 19th century, which was trying to solve the pasture land problems with forestry methods. And in these 2 books were both writers were mentioning that probably the problems with the pasture land is rooted in this separation of the forest and pastures. This is the picture of the cover of those books. And just interestingly, it's really, as I was mentioning, the importance of the traditional knowledge, that if we see these scientific papers which was wrote in the, or deal with the problem of the effects of the enclosure, what we can see that many writers were emphasizing traditional knowledge or interpret what they learned from the local people about it. And I just wanted to show that present some interest or some results from my ongoing research, because it's still ongoing, and I was not sure that what you will be interested in. So if you have any questions or comments, or in the future, that if any topics what I was mentioning that you would be interested in, I am very happy to talk with any of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Varga, for your presentation. Please stay tuned in if there are any questions. Zdaj pa prehajamo na diskusijo. Imamo kaj za vprašati, kot smo že v prvem panelu videli, kot pride vprašati. Ja, prosim.
Jaz imam vprašanje za kolegico Varga. I have a question for colleague Varga, and it is, did I understand correctly that the results of your research tell you that in this area the wooded pastures, that is pasture with trees, is a relatively recent form of landscape that was formed partly spontaneously and partly artificially during the 19th century. And if this is true, if I understand correctly, my question is this a generalized situation in your country? And what kind of relation between forest and grazing there was earlier? So I imagine grazing was practiced in more normal woods, like in brackets. But it's a question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you got the main points of my research, that actually this is my kind of questions, and now I am collecting now the data about that. Is it a general situation or not? But what I can see from the field as well, that that in one way these wood pastures kind of remain of this pre-enclosed landscape. So this is could be also a heritage, because when the forests were grazed, probably they were more open, and as we know that from a forest historical data, that this closed high stand forest is a kind of new phenomenon. I mean, it was also a 150, 200 years old forest type. So when the forests were grazed, it doesn't mean that it was grazed in a closed high stand forest. So this is kind of hard to say how the forest look like, and how those wood pasture were actually created. So this is because it could be that when we say that the forests were grazed in the 18th century, it could be as well that it was totally looked like as a current wood pasture, as a more open. I showed the first picture of the wood pasture, that there is also a closed part of the wood pasture and a more open part. So it's a very diverse habitat type, and it doesn't means that it's only just a parkland landscape. So this is still a questions that I must say that I wouldn't say that it's a generalized situation everywhere, but I try to find more and more data or about it. And yes, I don't know that I'm set for your questions or not.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Prosim.
Voi povete da je Peter, ker je to videl, on so knjigo Natural Woods, ena let, je izdal knjigo in je prav v tem, da so ti bolj bili pastoralna. Vse momente, to je Gozda.
Ja imam pitanje za profesora Aleksandra Panji. Radi se, vi ste mnogo više napisali u vašim slajdovima, niste stigli sve reći. Ja bih samo molio za pojašnjenje, da li možete dati, spomenuli ste McNeilovu degradacijsku teoriju i mene sad zanima kako je to na vašem primjeru istraživanja bilo vezano uz ove kmečke prakse. Dakle, koliko je to sad ovoga, ako mi možete prokomentirati.
Ja, hvala za vprašanje. Bom govoril angleško, da razume tudi kolegica. Poskus prav. Ja, tudi, ja. So I try to answer the question in English so that you can, colleague Varga, understand what we are saying. I mentioned the degradation theory, especially related to the Mediterranean area. And the peasant practices of use of the forest and wood resources is that I imply relates mostly to the karst, but also to the alpine and pre-alpine area. My research experience tells me that the peasants, the rural population, knew quite well what they were doing, why, and what the results will be, and what are the results they want to achieve by managing the woodlands and single trees in a specific way. And the landscape that is the result of this way of management is, of course, a anthropized landscape. The goal of these kinds of use of the forest resources was to ensure both the sustainability of the system from an ecological point of view, that was, and on a social and economic sustainability for the community, for the people who had to live there. This means that, of course, the sustainability they were trying to reach was quite different from the sustainability we have in mind today. And also the uses of these areas were very different. But still, I think it is legitimate to speak about sustainability. And while the theory of degradation theory says that the people at that times were not able, did not have the knowledge to manage these resources in a way in a sustainable way. And so there was a depletion and the forests disappeared. But in some areas, like the karst, for example, you do not have any real demonstration that there ever was really a forest that was then destroyed by man. This is the first. And the second, they reached a level that they were able to implement and live on through the centuries. So this was a little bit my idea. And when especially this area is very interesting because it is environmentally, ecologically very sensitive because of the karst, the erosion, and so on. So everything you make has big impact on one side. And on the other side, because it is one of the earliest, probably, examples of a mass reforestation or afforestation already relatively early in the 19th century. And as a historian, I am very sad that the reforestation of the karst has been made. And in fact, the population in the 19th century was very much against the reforestation of the karst. You have very, very many fires. People put fire to the young trees because they didn't want to have a forest. They wanted to have pastures with some trees. They were not against the trees, but they didn't need to have that kind of tree and not the trees covering everything. So also, whenever we read and hear, I think, about forestry, especially in the 19th century, and the forestry technicians from that period, and also reports about open spaces in the forest and that they need to be reforested because that is a waste of space. I think we must always keep in mind that every piece of forest that is cleared, it is probably cleared with a reason, and that it is part of the rural peasant economy of that area. That it happens not to be anymore in synchrony with the prevalent interests of the landlord or of the state. And so every area we close, like in the Hungarian case, or every area we have with afforestation, we cut away sources of traditional living source to the rural population of the area. And also something very interesting that I found is, it's very simple, but something I tried to mention. For example, in the karst, all the trees were coppice trees. So they were panielski Gozd, everything. And still, if you go there, all the trees you see, nearly all the trees, it's old coppice trees. And that was the kind of wood and trees the people needed in that area, because, and it's interesting because they themselves say, as I quoted, an oak on the karst needs 100, 200 years to grow as much so that I can use it for building. But a peasant does not need to build a house constantly. When he has the house, he has the house. So it is more important to him to have all the time, every year, some wood, for example, for vineyards or so on, than to wait for 150 years for these big trees to grow. But the modern 19th century, 18th century modern forestry, they were interested in high-growing trees for the shipyards, for the trade. So it's two rationalities that clash. And the modern rationality, let's say, with long trees and closed forests, says that the previous way of management of the woodlands were irrational, that they did not know how to do that. But in fact, more probably, it was a different interest that drove the users of the forest. But I don't think that I'm saying nothing revolutionary. I'm just probably making a synopsis of what you may read in a wider literature, also in the case of Hungary. So I hope I answered to your question.
Thank you very much for this comment, because it's I think we make a good connection to the example of the karst, and also about this or process or movements which happened in the 19th century. I think in all Europe, what I can see, and also that I think it's this afforestation and the enclosure, it's very similar, because some places the enclosure actually that forced to have this closed forest, also in Hungary, which was really the local people had a very similar problems that you were mentioning in the karst. So it's I think so. Thank you very much for this comment.
Okay, thank you. Hvala. Še kakšno vprašanje? Ni nič več. V redu, pa zaključujemo tale panel. Sicer zamujamo že, ampak mislim, da rabimo vsi spitno pavze, tudi da če 15 čez pomajamo, da se naprej lotimo. Hvala in vse dobra publika.